Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hi guys, welcome back to our geography lesson. So today we have chapter 9 from the social science book, and the title of the chapter is called Wildlife. So quickly, before we move on to this chapter, let me tell you, in the last chapter we learned about vegetation. We learned about trees, plants, different species of plants, right? Now in this chapter we'll talk about the animal life, the animals, the birds, the insects. So they're all called wildlife. It's a collective word where by wildlife we refer to animals, birds and insects. Alright, so this is what we are going to look at, the wildlife in India and its conservation. Now, like I said, wildlife, the term wildlife refers to animals, birds and other organisms like insects. Now, insects, some of them we can see with our naked eyes. Some of them are so small, some organisms are so small that we cannot see with our naked eyes. We have to use microscopes. We have to use magnifying glasses in order to look at them, in order to see them. So, those organisms are also part of the wildlife. Okay, so all animals, birds and organisms like insects collectively refer to wildlife. Okay, now in India, in our country, we have abundance of wildlife. Abundance means plenty. Okay, plenty of different varieties and species of wildlife are present in our country. You go to one region, you go to the deserts, you'll find different kinds of animals, insects. You go to the Himalayan range and the states that are part of the Himalayan range. That area or those regions will have different varieties of insects and animals. You come to the south in the peninsular part of the country, again we'll see different kinds of animals, birds and insects. Okay, so what we are trying to understand is that in India we have very rich wildlife. Okay, so there are more than 89,000 species of animals. So animals are of different kinds. We may find that, oh, this is a kangaroo or this is a camel, but then it turns out after doing a deeper or a proper study of the camels of that particular animal, then we'll find that there are different species of that particular animal. Okay, so in India we have more than 89,000 animal species living or inhabiting in our country. And there are about 1200 species of birds in India. Okay, and this number, this figure goes on to make 13% of the world's total. So if the world's total is 100%, the birds, okay, the birds in the world, they are 100%. Now each country will have their own species of birds, and that will go on to add and make that 100%. So India contributes 13%. 13% of the world's species of birds come from India. Okay. In a similar manner, the fish or the different species of fish that we have in India are about 2,500 different species. Okay. And that again goes on to make up to 12% of the world's entire population of fish. Okay. So just like 13% of bird species is contributed to the world's total bird species, similar manner 12% from India goes on to contribute to the world's stock. Okay. Apart from the birds, fish, animals, we also have other kinds of animals like amphibians, reptiles and mammals. They comprise between 5% and 8% of the world's count. So up to or between 5 to 8% of the animal population that we have in India goes on to contribute to the world's total animal population. Now, one of the animals that we have is elephants. Okay. Now, the elephants that we find in India, these elephants are not similar to the ones that we see in Africa or in other countries. Okay, the elephants are huge and majestic. They're huge. They're massive bodies. Okay, they live in hot, wet forests of Kerala, Karnataka, and Assam. These are the 3 states where we find elephants in India. Now, they are interestingly lower in height than that of the elephants found in Africa or African elephants. Okay, the African elephants are taller, even more larger, but the Indian elephants are shorter in height. They also have smaller ears and tusks. Tusk is the white horn-like thing which comes out of which is part of their face. Okay, so they have smaller ears and smaller tusks as well. So that was elephant. Another animal that we have is one-horned rhinos. Now, one-horned rhinos are found in the swamps and marshlands of the states of Assam and West Bengal in our country. Now, if you look further to the west, in Thar Desert and the Rann of Kutch, which is Rajasthan and Gujarat area, so there we find camels and wild ass, okay, wild donkeys. And apart from these animals, we have various species of monkeys, hazel, chausinga, nilgai, and Indian bison. Okay. Now, India, very important fact, is the only country in the world to have both tigers and lions as part of its wildlife. Okay. Many countries have either tigers or lion. They do not have both. But India is the only country where both tigers and lions are found together. Okay. The natural habitat of Indian lion. Where do we find Indian lion? We find that in Gir forest in the state of Gujarat. Okay. And tigers, on the other hand, they are found in the forests of Madhya Pradesh, the Sundarbans of West Bengal, and the Himalayan region. Okay. Now, apart from lions and tigers, we also have leopards. Leopards generally belong to the cat family, like the domestic cat that we have, the pet cat. They all belong to the cat family. Okay. In the Himalayas, in the cold region of the Himalayas, there are many animals and they live in such a way that they can survive in extreme freezing cold as well. Alright. So one of the areas in the Himalayas that we are going to look at is Ladakh. Okay, it's in the western Himalayas. Now in the western Himalayas or in the Ladakh area, we find or we see animals such as yak, the Tibetan antelope, the bharal or the blue sheep, the wild sheep, and the kiang or Tibetan wild ass, wild donkey. Now these animals, now that we are saying that they are found or seen in Ladakh, but they are also found in other pockets of the Himalayas. Okay, and there are other animals as well besides the Tibetan antelope, besides the wild sheep, besides the bharal. And those animals are ibex, bear, snow leopard, and red panda. Okay. Now, if we come and look at our coastal areas, our rivers and lakes, there we find another variety of animals. And what are they? They are turtles, crocodiles, and gharials. Okay, these are the animals that we find in the lakes, rivers, and coastal areas of our country. Now, we also have a rich variety and diverse species of birds, and they are very, very colorful. They vary in color. Okay, some of them are peacocks. Peacocks are our national bird. Pheasants, ducks, parakeets, cranes, and pigeons. These are the common birds. Okay, that we find. They inhabit or they live in forests and wetlands or the wet regions of our country. Now, when we look at the vegetation and wildlife, they are very important, right? From the vegetation or from the forest, we get medicinal plants. We get plants which are of very significant, which are of great significance to humankind, because from there we get medicine. From there we can use the plants and roots or other parts of the plants to manufacture drugs required for our health, okay, for our betterment of our health. Now, animals are also very important. Animals are used for transportation purpose, and they also provide meat, eggs, etc., wool, all that thing, hide, skin for us. Fish provide nutritive food. They also provide food and important essential nutrition for our good health, for our well-being. Okay. Insects are also very important. They play a very important or key role in the pollination purpose. Okay. They try to take the pollens from plants and then take to the other plants, and with that what happens, the plant growth and reproduction is also helped. Okay. So what we can understand that every species in our ecosystem, plants, animals, they have very important role to play in the ecosystem, in the environment, the area where they live, how they live. They have a very important role to play. Each of them have a very important role to play. If there are no insects and just fish and animals and plants or trees, then there will be an imbalance in the ecosystem. The proper functioning, the healthy ecosystem cannot be maintained. Okay, so all the plants, animals, insects, so basically the vegetation and the wildlife has to go and work together with each other, depending upon each other, influencing each other. Okay, so that we have a healthy ecosystem, so that we have a healthy environment. Okay, so because of this reason, because of the fact that every species plays a very important role and they are essential, these species, the wildlife needs to be conserved. Okay, the vegetation needs to be conserved. In the last chapter, when we were doing vegetation, we learned a big deal about conservation, and there we also try to understand why we needed conservation. So in the similar manner, when we are talking about wildlife in this chapter, we also need to pay attention to how we are learning, why we are learning that animals are also needed. Animals are also needed to be protected, conserved and preserved. Okay. The wildlife is also a very important resources that human beings depend upon, okay, for its development, for its well-being. So hence, conservation of that resource, which is wildlife, is absolutely necessary. And why we need conservation? Because the plant and animal resources has been exploited. We have misused it. We have misused the natural resources provided by the plants and animals. So because of that exploitation, what is happening? Depletion of the resources happening. Okay, trees are being cut, animals are being killed illegally, right? Plants are not being properly taken care and they're just being destroyed. More and more lands are being destroyed for building of multiplexes, housing settlements, roads, railways, etc. As a result of that, the natural resources, the plant and animal resources are in danger. We have put them in danger. So that means we have exploited it. We have overused it. We have misused it. Okay, but that is not what it should be, how it should be. It's damaging the environment. It's damaging or destroying the balance of the ecosystem. And we are already experiencing its consequences. We are already experiencing changes in the climate, changes in our experiences, human experiences. So because of that, conservation of plant and animal resources, conservation of wildlife is absolutely necessary. Now, about 1300 plant species are endangered today, okay? And to 20 species are already extinct. Extinct means they cannot be brought back. Those plant species cannot be brought back. They're just now gone. Alright? Apart from that, there are also animal species which are endangered and some have also become extinct. Animals and plants have been endangered and many of them have gone extinct. Now, why is this happening? Why is the lives or the plants, why are animals and plants being endangered, their lives being threatened, and why they are going extinct? Some of the causes are hunting by greedy hunters for commercial purposes. People do not need to hunt for animals. People do not need to take the meat of the animals, which they do not require for their consumption, which are not necessary for our consumption, right? But still, there is a market, there is a demand. So, for commercial purposes, for their selfish needs, they hunt illegally, okay? So, that is also one of the main causes or main reasons which is leading to the extinction of certain animals. Pollution is another cause. There's so much pollution today, right? Air pollution, water pollution, land pollution, light pollution, noise pollution. Because of these pollutions, the lives of the plants and animals or the wildlife in particular are put in danger. We have put their lives in danger. They do not have clean water to drink. They do not have proper forest areas to depend upon on their food and their livelihood, okay, their well-being. So, because of pollution, we have led to extinction of many plants and animals. Introduction of alien species is also another main causes. So, species which are not present in a natural ecosystem, but we introduce it through chemical, through biological processes, and that also leads to imbalance of the ecosystem. That also destroys the balance of the ecosystem, and that leads to the extinction of certain species of plants and animals. Reckless cutting of the forest is another important main cause. Now, deforestation, we know, cutting the trees is not good, but people are still cutting it. So, reckless means carelessly, without giving a thought, without being considerate, without being sensible about their actions. People are cutting the trees to build roads, to build settlements, houses, buildings, malls for shopping, houses for people to live, right? So because of that, huge areas of forest lands are being destroyed, and that has led to the extinction of wildlife as well as vegetation. Now, gharials, we know, gharials are one of the animals which are found in coastal areas, lakes, and rivers. Now, gharials, they are only one of a certain variety of crocodiles which is found only in India, in the world. Okay, so there are certain animals which can be found only in India. Now, if we do not conserve these animals, then they'll go extinct and it will not be found anywhere. Okay, so one of those animals which are found only in India, that is gharials. It's a certain kind of crocodile in the world which is only found in India. Now, we have another animal or fish which is river dolphins. Okay, it's called Platantissa gangetica. So this is found in the Ganga Brahmaputra river system, the Ganga and Brahmaputra, right? So there, these river dolphins are found, and it is not found anywhere else. We also find pheasants, ducks, parakeets, and cranes in the forests and wetlands of India. So we find diverse species of animals, birds, and insects all throughout our country. And there are certain animals, there are certain plants, there are certain animals certain insects, certain fish, which we get only in India and not anywhere else in the world. Alright?